She hit the concrete hard, but before the thug's laughter even died, the Mafia boss stepped into the stairwell, eyes locked on the men who'd just sent her crashing down. One look at Carrie's blood on the steel steps, and something ancient and violent snapped loose in him. Now the only question was whether the men who pushed her would beg fast enough, or die slow. If you're hooked in and want to enjoy this story, go ahead and subscribe, and drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. It's always amazing to see where everyone's watching. Plus, tomorrow I've got another incredible story lined up, and you definitely don't want to miss it. Alright, back to the story. The evening air behind Manolo's Cantina in downtown Eastbridge carried the smell of frying onions, cerveza, and the kind of urban decay that settles into brick and concrete after decades. The alley's dim yellow lights created pools of illumination that didn't quite reach the corners, leaving the dumpsters and service entrance wrapped in shadows thick enough to hide predators. Carrie Brown pushed through the kitchen's back door at 9:47 p.m., her white button-down blouse stained with salsa verde and exhaustion. At 26, she moved with the careful economy of someone who'd learned to make herself small in a world that preferred she stayed invisible. Her petite frame, barely 5'3", carried the weight of a double shift, like a physical burden pressing down on her shoulders. Dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, hands calloused from years of carrying heavy trays. Eyes that had learned not to meet anyone's gaze for too long. Her face told its own story. Smooth brown skin marked by a faded yellow-green bruise along her left cheekbone, a week old, shaped like knuckles. She'd told the manager she'd walked into a cabinet door. Nobody asked follow-up questions. Across the alley, leaning against the brick wall beneath a flickering street lamp, Oscar Heaton waited with the patience of an apex predator. His tailored charcoal suit fit him like armor, the jacket open enough to reveal an off-white shirt, and the dark ink creeping up his neck geometric patterns that disappeared beneath his collar. At 38, he carried himself with the kind of stillness that made civilians nervous without understanding why. He'd come only for his standing Thursday order ribeye, blood rare, no sides. But his dark eyes tracked Carrie's movements with forensic precision, noting details others missed. The way she favored her left side when she breathed, the slight wince as she stretched her shoulders, the way her gaze swept the alley before she allowed herself to relax even an inch. He noticed the bruise. He noticed everything. Voices erupted from the alley's far end. Young, aggressive, entitled. 3 figures materialized from the darkness near the dumpsters, their hoodies and swagger marking them as the same crew that had been bleeding protection money from local businesses for months. The lead thug, early 20s with a spiderweb tattoo crawling up his neck, stepped forward with the confidence of someone who'd never faced real consequences. His boys flanked him, grinning, phones already out. "Yo, mamacita," Spiderweb called out, his voice carrying that particular brand of manufactured menace that young predators mistake for power. "We been waiting for you." Carrie's shoulders tensed. She'd tried ignoring them for 6 weeks, tried different exit times, tried asking the manager to walk her out. Nothing worked. They always found her. "I got nothing for you," she said quietly, keys already in her hand, knuckles white around the pepper spray attached to the ring. "Nah, see, that's disrespectful." Spiderweb moved closer, his crew spreading out to block her path to the street. "We ask nice every week. You too good to show respect?" Oscar's hand slipped from his pocket. His face remained impassive, but something predatory shifted in his posture. A wolf watching deer circle something it had already claimed. "Just let me go home," Carrie said, her voice steady despite the fear Oscar could see tightening her jaw. "Please, please." One of the other thugs, shorter with a Yankees cap pulled low, laughed. "Yo," she said, "please. Like we're supposed to care." Spiderweb grabbed Carrie's wrist. She jerked back, and the pepper spray clattered to the pavement. "Don't fucking touch me," she snapped, and Oscar saw at that flash of fire she usually kept buried under survival instinct and exhaustion. The slap came fast. Spiderweb's palm cracked across her face, reopening the week-old bruise. Blood bloomed at her lip. "Know your place, bitch." That's when she pushed him. Not hard, just a reflexive shove, her hands against his chest, trying to create distance. The thugs erupted in exaggerated outrage, phones lifting higher, capturing every angle. "Yo, she assaulted you, man. That's battery." "She going crazy." Spiderweb's face twisted into theatrical fury. He grabbed her shoulder and shoved hard, violent, meant to hurt. Carrie stumbled backward toward the stairwell. Her heel caught the edge of the top step. Time fractured into slow-motion brutality. Her arms windmilled, fingers grasping at empty air. Her body twisted as gravity claimed her. The first impact her shoulder against the metal railing. The second her hip on the concrete edge. The third her face against the steps. 7 stairs, 8 at most. Each one a separate violence. She landed in a crumpled heap at the bottom, blood pooling beneath her hands, her breathing shallow and ragged. "Die, bitch," Spiderweb called down, laughing as his crew recorded her broken form. 3 seconds later, they were still laughing. 5 seconds later, Oscar Heaton was moving. His footsteps made no sound as he crossed the alley, but something in the air changed temperature, pressure, the weight of inevitability. The thugs didn't notice until his shadow fell across them. When they turned, still grinning, still high on adrenaline and cruelty, they found themselves staring into eyes that held no mercy, no hesitation, no humanity left to appeal to. Oscar's voice emerged quiet as a blade leaving its sheath. "Run." The 3 thugs stopped laughing. Spiderweb's grin flickered, uncertainty creeping into his eyes as he registered the man standing before them. Oscar Heaton didn't raise his voice, didn't make threats, didn't need to. The violence radiating from him was a physical presence, thick as the humidity hanging in the alley. "Yo, who the fuck?" Yankee's Cap started. Oscar's hand shot out, fingers closing around the kid's throat mid-sentence. He lifted him onto his toes with terrifying ease, slamming him against the brick wall hard enough to crack mortar. The phone clattered to the pavement, screen shattering. "I said run." Oscar's voice remained conversational, almost pleasant. "That was your chance." He released Yankee's Cap, who crumpled to the ground gasping, clutching his crushed windpipe. Spiderweb finally recognized the suit, the tattoos creeping up the neck, the face he'd seen in whispered warnings from older crew members who knew better than to work this block. "Oh shit," his voice cracked. "Oh shit, you're Oscar Heaton." The name fell like a death sentence. "And you just pushed a woman down my stairs." The 3rd thug, baby-faced and maybe 19, bolted, ran full sprint toward the street, his footsteps echoing off brick walls. Oscar didn't chase him, didn't even watch him go. He had cameras on every corner of this block, informants in every business. The kid would be found within the hour, tagged and cataloged like inventory. Instead, Oscar turned his back on the remaining 2, the ultimate display of contempt, and descended the stairs to where Carrie lay motionless. Spiderweb grabbed Yankee's Cap, hauling him upright. "We gotta go, man, we gotta." "You think running matters?" Oscar called over his shoulder, kneeling beside Carrie's broken form. "You think distance will save you?" He touched her neck with surprising gentleness, fingers seeking her pulse. Steady, weak, but steady. Blood matted her hair where her temple had struck the concrete. Her right arm bent at an unnatural angle. The white blouse, already stained from her shift, now carried darker blooms of red. Carrie's eyes fluttered open, unfocused and glazed with pain. "Don't move," Oscar murmured, his voice stripped of the cold menace he'd wielded seconds ago. "Ambulance is coming." "You." Her voice came out broken, confused. "You're." "I know." He shrugged off his suit jacket, folding it carefully beneath her head. "I'm the bad guy. But tonight, I'm your bad guy." Her eyes widened slightly, not with fear, but with the dawning realization that the well-dressed man who ordered ribeye every Thursday was something far more dangerous than she'd imagined. Above them, Spiderweb made his crucial mistake. "This ain't over, old man," he shouted, emboldened by distance and desperation. "You don't know who you're fucking with. Rico Vega sent us. This whole block's about to be." The words died as Oscar's head tilted slowly upward, eyes locking onto Spiderweb with the focus of a scope finding its target. "Rico Vega." Oscar repeated the name like he was memorizing it. "Interesting." Spiderweb's bravado evaporated. He'd just revealed the operation connected the assault to a larger move, painted a target on his crew's back with his own stupid mouth. Yankee's Cap, still wheezing, grabbed Spiderweb's arm. "You idiot, you just... go." Oscar's voice carried up the stairs with absolute finality. "Tell Rico exactly what happened here. Tell him Oscar Heaton saw what his boys did. Tell him I'm coming." The 2 thugs scrambled backward, then ran, their footsteps fading into the urban night. Oscar pulled out his phone, never taking his eyes off Carrie's face. Luis, back alley, Manolo's. 3 targets, male, early 20s. One with spiderweb neck tattoo, one in Yankee's Cap, one baby-faced runner. "I want names, addresses, family trees, and every place they've pissed in the last 6 months. 20 minutes. He ended the call, then dialed again. "Manolo. Oscar. Send someone to the back door with clean towels. Now. And call 911. Tell them a customer fell down the stairs." A pause. Because that's what happened. A customer. Fell. Carrie tried to sit up, gasping as pain lanced through her ribs. I said don't move. Oscar's hand pressed gently against her shoulder, keeping her down. "You've got broken bones. Maybe internal bleeding. You want to die proving you're tough? Why?" She struggled to focus through the haze. Why do you care? Something flickered across Oscar's face, a ghost of old pain, quickly buried. You don't remember, do you? His jaw tightened. 2 years ago, a girl worked your station. Lila, skinny thing, scared of her own shadow. Some punks were giving her trouble in the dining room, calling her names. You stepped in, told them to leave or you'd have them thrown out. Carrie's eyes widened with recognition. She was my sister. Oscar's voice went flat, empty. 3 weeks after you defended her, Rico Vega's crew ran her down in a hit and run, sent her body through a windshield because she witnessed one of their drug deals. Tears welled in Carrie's eyes, mixing with the blood on her face. You showed her kindness when nobody else did, Oscar continued. That means something. That means you're under my protection now, whether you want it or not. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Oscar leaned in, his voice dropping to a whisper only she could hear. They touched you. That means they touched what's mine. And nobody. His eyes went black with promise. Nobody walks away from that. The ambulance pulled into the alley, lights painting the brick walls red and blue. But the real bloodshed hadn't even started. The hospital room smelled like disinfectant and broken promises. Carrie woke to fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, her mouth dry as desert sand, her body screaming with a pain that felt like someone had taken a sledgehammer to her skeleton. Her right arm hung in a sling, wrapped in a cast from wrist to elbow. Bandages covered her temple. Every breath sent fire through her ribs, and sitting perfectly still in the corner chair, watching her with those same unreadable eyes, was Oscar Heaton. She jerked upright, immediately regretting it as agony exploded through her torso. Easy, Oscar's voice cut through her panic. 3 cracked ribs, broken radius, mild concussion. Doctor said you're lucky it wasn't worse. Lucky. Carrie's laugh came out bitter, broken. That what we're calling this? Oscar said nothing. Just watched her the way a wolf watches prey, patient, calculating, seeing everything she tried to hide. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken questions. Why are you here? Carrie finally asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Making sure you're alive. Bullshit. She met his gaze, fear and anger warring behind her eyes. Men like you don't sit in hospital rooms at... She glanced at the clock. 3 in the morning unless they want something. A ghost of a smile touched Oscar's lips, almost impressed. You're right. I want something. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I want you to understand what happened tonight. What's going to happen next? I fell down some stairs. End of story. You were pushed by 3 members of the Vega crew as a message to me. Oscar's voice remained calm, factual. Rico Vega's trying to muscle into Eastbridge. He sent those boys to test my territory, see if I'd react. You were just the excuse. Carrie's hands trembled. I don't know anything about crews or territory or... You don't need to know. You just need to listen. Oscar pulled something from his pocket, a photograph, worn at the edges. He held it out to her. Carrie took it with her good hand. The image showed a young woman, maybe 22, with Oscar's same dark eyes and sharp cheekbones. She was laughing at something off camera, her joy so pure it seemed to glow from the paper. Lila, Carrie breathed, recognition flooding her features. Oh God, she was my baby sister. Oscar's jaw tightened. Only family I had left after our parents died. I kept her away from the business. Made sure she had clean money, a clean life. Put her through community college. She wanted to be a teacher. Carrie's eyes filled with tears. She talked about you. Never said your name, but I could tell. She looked up to someone. Said her brother worked hard so she didn't have to. I worked bloody so she wouldn't have to. The words hung in the air like smoke. She died 2 years ago. Oscar continued, his voice hollow. October 14th. Hit and run at the corner of 5th and Madison. Rico Vega's crew. She saw them dealing to high school kids outside the library. Threatened to call the cops. Carrie's hand flew to her mouth. Jesus. They followed her 3 blocks. Ran her down doing 60 in a residential zone. Her body went through a Toyota's windshield. Oscar's hands clenched into fists. She was dead before the ambulance arrived. The cops called it an accident. No witnesses, no cameras, no justice. I'm so sorry. You defended her. Oscar's eyes locked onto hers with laser intensity. That night in the restaurant, those college kids were drunk, calling her names I won't repeat, making her cry. Management did nothing. But you, his voice softened almost imperceptibly. You stepped between them, told them to leave or you'd make sure they regretted it. I remember, Carrie whispered. She was scared. Someone had to. Nobody ever did. Oscar's voice cracked, just barely, just enough to reveal the human beneath the monster. Nobody stood up for her except you. A waitress making $9 an hour with her own problems. You risked your job for a girl you barely knew. Tears tracked down Carrie's cheeks, stinging the cuts on her face. Oscar stepped into the pre-dawn darkness outside St. Anthony's Hospital, the automatic doors whispering shut behind him. His phone was already pressed to his ear before he reached the parking lot. Luis, tell me you have something. Everything. Luis Mora's voice crackled through the speaker, efficient and clinical. Spiderweb is Dante Cruz, 23, 3 priors for assault. Yankees cap is Tommy Feng, 21, dealing charges dropped last year. The runner is Jamie Vasquez, 19, clean record but his cousin runs with the Vega crew. Addresses. Sending them now. But boss, Luis hesitated. Dante's already spooked. He's been calling everyone he knows, trying to find somewhere to hide. Word spreading that you're hunting. Good. Oscar slid into his black Mercedes, the leather interior still carrying the faint scent of Carrie's blood from where he'd cradled her head. Fear makes them sloppy. Where's Dante now? His girlfriend's apartment. Parkside Towers, Unit 412. Been there since he ran from the alley. Hasn't left. Oscar started the engine. Keep eyes on the building. Nobody in or out without me knowing. Already done. Boss. You want backup on this? No. Oscar's voice went cold. This one's personal. He ended the call and pulled into traffic, the city still sleeping around him. But Oscar's world never slept. It pulsed beneath the surface like a second heartbeat, informants reporting, cameras recording, money changing hands in the shadows that most people pretended didn't exist. His mind replayed the scene in the alley, Carrie's body tumbling down those stairs, the crack of bone against concrete. The way she'd looked at him afterward, terrified but somehow trusting, like a wounded animal recognizing the difference between a predator and a protector. You gave my sister dignity. The words echoed in his skull. He'd meant them, every syllable. Lila's death had carved something out of him, left a hollow space where mercy used to live. But Carrie had unknowingly planted something in that void 2 years ago, a debt that demanded payment, a connection that refused to be buried with his sister's body. Oscar's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Dante Cruz had no idea what he'd triggered. None of them did. Parkside Towers loomed against the lightening sky, a decaying monument to urban renewal projects that had failed decades ago. Oscar parked 2 blocks away, approaching on foot through the shadows he'd learned to inhabit like a second skin. The building's security camera had been broken for 6 months. Oscar knew because he'd broken it this was Vega territory, or at least it used to be. Now it was contested ground, and Dante hiding here was either desperation or stupidity, probably both. Oscar took the stairs to the 4th floor, his footsteps silent on concrete. Years of moving through hostile territory had taught him how to become a ghost when necessary. He passed a sleeping homeless man, a broken window, graffiti declaring loves and threats in equal measure. Unit 412's door was cheap pressboard, already damaged from previous break-ins. Oscar could kick it down, could shoot the lock, could do 100 violent things. Instead, he knocked. 3 measured taps. Silence. Then footsteps hesitant, scared. Who is it? A woman's voice, young and frightened. Building maintenance. Water leak reported from your unit. There's no leak. Ma'am, I need to check the pipes before it floods the apartments below. More silence. Whispered conversation inside. Oscar heard Dante's voice, panicked and urgent. Don't open it, don't fucking... The door cracked open, chain still attached. A girl, maybe 20, peered through the gap. Her eyes widened when she saw Oscar's face. She tried to slam the door. Oscar's boot wedged into the gap. His shoulder hit the door, snapping the chain like thread. The girl stumbled backward, screaming. Dante appeared from the bedroom, shirtless and wild-eyed, holding a kitchen knife that shook in his trembling hand. Get the fuck out. Dante's voice cracked. I'll call the cops. Oscar closed the door behind him with terrifying calm. No, you won't. I mean it, man, I got a weapon. So do I. Oscar didn't reach for the gun under his jacket. Didn't need to. His presence filled the cramped apartment like floodwater. But I didn't come here to kill you, Dante. Not yet. The girlfriend sobbed in the corner, phone clutched uselessly in her hands. Sit down. Oscar gestured to the stained couch. Both of you. They sat. They had no choice. Oscar remained standing, hands in his pockets, the picture of casual menace. I'm going to ask you questions. You're going to answer honestly. Every lie extends your life by exactly 0 seconds. Understand? Dante nodded, the knife forgotten on the cushion beside him. Who ordered the hit on Carrie Brown? It wasn't a hit, man. It was just... Oscar's hand moved. The gun appeared. Dante's girlfriend screamed. Wrong answer. Oscar's voice never rose above conversation level. Who ordered it? Rico. Dante broke, tears streaming down his face. Rico Vega, he said. He said we needed to send you a message. Show that you were slipping, that your territory wasn't protected no more. Why that restaurant? Why that woman? Because, Dante's voice dropped to a whisper. Because he knew you ate there. Knew you had history with the staff. He wanted to see if you'd react emotional. If you still gave a shit about civilians. Oscar's jaw clenched. What else? That's it, man, I swear. What else is Rico planning? Dante's eyes darted away. Oscar cocked the gun. He's moving product through the docks. Next Tuesday. 20 kilos, new supplier from... Where? Pier di Sept, midnight. Oscar lowered the gun. Dante exhaled in relief. Thank you for your cooperation, Dante. Oscar turned toward the door. Wait. Dante's voice shook. You're not gonna... kill you? Oscar glanced back. No. Death would be mercy. Instead, I'm going to let you live with the knowledge that you broke. That you gave up Rico in under 2 minutes. That when your crew finds out, and they will, you'll wish I'd put a bullet in your skull. Oscar opened the door. Tell Rico I'm coming. Tell him Oscar Heaton saw what his boys did. Tell him, Oscar's smile was a razor's edge. Justice isn't just coming. It's already here. He left the sobbing couple behind. 1 down, 2 to go. Leela told me about you, Oscar said. Called you her angel. Said you reminded her what kindness looked like. He stood, moving to the window, his back to her. When she died, I promised myself I'd remember everyone who showed her mercy. Keep them safe. Repay the debt. You don't owe me anything. I owe you everything. Oscar turned, and for the first time Carrie saw past the cold exterior to the grief festering underneath. You gave my sister dignity when the world treated her like garbage. That means something in my world. That means you're mine to protect. I'm not yours. Carrie's voice shook but held firm. I'm not anyone's. Then let me rephrase. Oscar crossed back to her bedside, his presence overwhelming the small room. Those boys who pushed you down the stairs? They're connected to the same crew that killed Lila. And they're about to learn what happens when you touch someone I've decided matters. What are you going to do? Oscar's smile didn't reach his eyes. What I should have done 2 years ago. The door opened. A nurse entered, clipboard in hand, expression professional but wary as she registered Oscar's presence. Visiting hours ended 3 hours ago, sir. I was just leaving. Oscar moved toward the door, then paused. One more thing, Carrie. She looked at him, seeing the monster and the grieving brother all at once. Don't try to go home. I've already moved your things to a safe location. Someone will be outside your door 24/7. His tone left no room for argument. You're under my protection now. Whether you want it or not. He left before she could protest. But deep down, as fear and something else, maybe relief, maybe gratitude warred inside her chest, Carrie realized she didn't want to. For the first time in years, someone was fighting for her, even if that someone terrified her. Carrie discharged herself from Street Anthony's hospital against medical advice at 11 a.m., her arm in a sling, her ribs screaming with every breath, and her mind made up. She'd spent 6 hours staring at the ceiling, replaying Oscar's words, remembering Lila's shy smile, and realizing that accepting protection meant accepting a debt she couldn't repay. She'd rather take her chances. The nurse who processed her discharge paperwork kept glancing at the man stationed outside her door, broad-shouldered, tattoos creeping up his neck, eyes that tracked every movement in the hallway. One of Oscar's. Ma'am, are you sure you don't want us to call someone? I'm fine. Carrie signed the forms with her left hand, her signature barely legible. I just want to go home. Except home was a studio apartment with a broken lock and neighbors who pretended not to hear screaming. Home was vulnerability. Home was exactly where Rico Vega's crew would look for her. She knew it. She just didn't care. The bodyguard followed her to the elevator, maintaining a respectful distance but making his presence unmistakable. Carrie ignored him, jabbing the lobby button with more force than necessary. Miss Brown, he started. Don't. She cut him off. I didn't ask for this. Mr. Heaton was very clear about. I don't care what Mr. Heaton was clear about. The elevator doors opened. I'm not his responsibility. She stepped into the lobby and immediately saw the second problem. Manolo himself, waiting near the entrance with the expression of someone delivering bad news. Her manager, 63 years old, father of 4, the man who'd given her a job when nobody else would. Carrie. He approached carefully, like she might shatter. Mija, how are you feeling? Been better. She tried for a smile. It felt wrong on her swollen face. I'm coming back to work tomorrow. About that. Manolo's weathered hands twisted his car keys. Mr. Heaton came by this morning. He paid your hospital bills. All of them. Carrie's stomach dropped. He what? $23,000. Paid in full. Cash. Manolo's voice carried a mixture of awe and fear. He also paid your rent. 3 months. And, he hesitated. He strongly suggested you take time off. Recover properly. Strongly suggested. Carrie's voice went flat. Meaning? Meaning he owns the building my restaurant is in, Mija. Meaning when Oscar Heaton suggests something, it's not really a suggestion. The world tilted. Carrie grabbed the wall for support. He owns half the block. Maybe more. I never asked too many questions. Manolo's eyes held pity and warning in equal measure. Whatever happened in that alley, whatever you are to him now, you can't just walk away from it. Carrie found Oscar at Manolo's cantina. Of course she did. He was sitting at his usual table by the window, the Thursday lunch crowd giving him a wide berth, his ribeye untouched on the plate before him. Like he'd been waiting for her. She slid into the seat across from him without asking permission, pain flaring through her ribs. You can't do this. Her voice shook with barely controlled fury. You can't just take over my life like I'm some kind of project? Oscar set down his fork, meeting her gaze. Is that what you think this is? I think you're trying to control me. Pay off my debts so I owe you. Make me dependent. I'm trying to keep you alive. His voice carried an edge now, the calm surface cracking to reveal something volcanic beneath. Rico Vega has $3,000 on your head as of this morning. Every street punk in Eastbridge knows your face. You think going home to your broken lock and ground floor window is survival? It's suicide. Carrie's breath caught. 3,000 for information leading to your location. 5,000 if they bring you to him alive. Oscar leaned forward. He knows you saw his boys. Knows you can identify them. You're not just a witness anymore, Carrie. You're leverage against me. Then let me go. Leave the city. Start over somewhere. He'll find you. Oscar's certainty was absolute. Rico has connections in 6 states. You run, you die tired. You stay, you have a chance. A chance to what? Become your property? Tears burned behind her eyes, fury and fear and frustration colliding. I didn't ask to be saved. I didn't ask for any of this. No. Oscar's voice softened, and for a moment she saw past the crime boss to the grieving brother underneath. You just asked to be left alone. To work your shifts, support your mother, survive another day. And they couldn't even give you that. The fight drained out of her. Carrie slumped in the chair, exhausted. My mother, she whispered. Does she know? She thinks you're visiting a friend for a few days. I had someone call her. Your phone, your voice. Oscar pulled a cell phone from his pocket, sliding it across the table. New number, encrypted. Only 3 contacts. Me, Luis, and your mother's facility. Carrie stared at the phone. Facility? Sunrise Memory Care Center. Your mother has early onset Alzheimer's. You've been paying for her care on Waitress wages for 3 years. Oscar's eyes held no judgment. That's why you work doubles. Why you never call in sick. Why you couldn't afford to lose this job. How do you... Her voice broke. You investigated me. I protect what's mine. That means knowing every vulnerability, every pressure point. He paused. Your mother's care is paid for. 1 year, in full. Non-refundable. Stop. Carrie's hands trembled. Stop doing this. Stop making it impossible to hate you. I'm not trying to make you love me, Carrie. I'm trying to keep you breathing. Oscar stood, dropping cash on the table. There's a car outside. It'll take you to a safe house. Private security, clean identity, everything you need. And if I refuse? Oscar's jaw tightened. Then I'll have you taken there by force. Because I'm not watching another woman I care about die because I gave her a choice she wasn't equipped to make. The words hung between them raw, honest, terrifying in their implication. You barely know me, Carrie whispered. I know enough. Oscar headed for the door, then paused. You showed my sister kindness when kindness cost you something. In my world, that makes you rare. That makes you worth protecting. He left her sitting there, surrounded by the lunch crowd that pretended not to listen. Carrie looked at the phone in her hand. 3 contacts. 1 choice. She picked it up and dialed. Luis? It's Carrie. Where's this safe house? The safe house wasn't what Carrie expected. She'd imagined something cold and industrial, concrete walls, surveillance cameras, the sterile efficiency of a witness protection holding cell. Instead, Luis drove her to a renovated brownstone in the Garden District, 3 miles from the chaos of downtown Eastbridge, where tree-lined streets and historic architecture created the illusion of safety. "Third floor," Louise said, handing her a keycard. "Fingerprint scanner inside. Only you, me, and the boss can access it." Carrie stepped into the apartment and stopped. Hardwood floors, exposed brick, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a private courtyard. Her clothes, her actual clothes from her apartment, hung neatly in the closet. Her mother's photo sat on the nightstand in the frame she'd kept beside her bed for 3 years. How? "Mr. Heaton is thorough." Louise lingered in the doorway, professional but not unkind. "Panic button is by the bed. Armed response in under 90 seconds. Groceries are stocked. Anything you need, you call." He left before she could ask the questions piling up in her throat. Carrie sank onto the leather couch, her broken arm throbbing, her mind reeling. This wasn't protection. This was possession, luxurious, suffocating, absolute. Her new phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. "Hello?" Heavy breathing, then a voice, digitally distorted. "You should have died on those stairs, bitch." Carrie's blood went cold. "We know where your mother is. Sunrise Memory Care, room 3B. Pretty flowers on her nightstand. She asks for you every morning." "Don't you dare," Carrie's voice cracked. "Tell Oscar Heaton to back off. Tell him Rico Vega doesn't forget disrespect. You got 72 hours before we pay Mama a visit." The line went dead. Carrie's hands shook so violently she dropped the phone. Nausea rolled through her stomach. They'd been to the facility, seen her mother, knew exactly how to destroy her. She grabbed the phone, dialing Oscar's number with trembling fingers. He answered on the first ring. "What happened?" Not a question, a command. "They called." Carrie could barely breathe. "They threatened my mother. They've been to the facility, Oscar." They described her room. "I'm 10 minutes away. Don't open the door for anyone." The line cut. Carrie paced the apartment, pain forgotten, terror consuming everything else. Her mother, her sweet, confused mother who didn't remember Carrie's name half the time but still smiled when she visited, who sang old songs in Spanish and asked about a husband who'd been dead for 15 years. They'd use her, hurt her, kill her, all because Carrie had shown Leela kindness 2 years ago. The door lock disengaged. Oscar entered like a storm front, Luis behind him carrying a laptop. "Play it," Oscar commanded. Carrie's fingers fumbled with the phone. She played the voicemail she'd forgotten it recorded automatically. Oscar's expression never changed, but something lethal settled behind his eyes as the distorted voice described her mother's room. "Voice modulator," Luis noted, fingers flying across his keyboard. But the background noise. He enhanced the audio. Distant traffic. A car horn. Specific pitch and rhythm. "That's the intersection near Pier 17. Call was made less than an hour ago." Same location Dante mentioned. Oscar's jaw clenched. "They're getting sloppy." "Or confident," Luis countered. "Boss, this is escalation. They're not just testing anymore. They're declaring war." "Good." Oscar turned to Carrie. "Your mother's being moved. Right now. Private facility, different name, armed security. Rico's people won't find her. You can't just—" "I already did." Oscar pulled up his own phone, showing her a confirmation email. "Sunrise is transferring her care to Meadowbrook Estate. Medical director is a friend. Your mother will get better treatment, better security, and a cover identity. She's already in transit." Carrie's legs gave out. She collapsed onto the couch, overwhelmed. "How much does this cost? How much more do I owe you?" "Nothing." Oscar crouched before her, eye level, his voice losing its edge. "You owe me nothing, Carrie. This isn't a debt. This is what happens when someone threatens what's mine. I'm not yours. You became mine the moment you defended Lila." His intensity burned through her protests. "You became mine when you pushed back against those thugs instead of staying silent. You became mine when you survived those stairs." He stood, the vulnerability vanishing behind cold calculation. "And now they've made you bait. They think threatening you will make me back down. Will it?" Carrie looked up at him, seeing both her protector and her jailer. Oscar's smile was cruel. "No. It'll make me burn their world to ash." Across town, in a warehouse that smelled of rust and river water, Rico Vega crushed his burner phone in his fist. The bitch called him immediately. Rico's voice dripped contempt, exactly like we knew she would. Tommy Feng, his face still bruised from Oscar's chokehold, leaned against a crate. "So what now? He's gonna come for us hard." "Let him come." Rico lit a cigarette, exhaling smoke toward the corrugated ceiling. "We've got 20 soldiers moving into position. Suppliers lined up from Miami. Eastbridge is ours for the taking. And the girl? She's already served her purpose." Rico's eyes glinted with malice. We wanted Oscar emotional. We wanted him making mistakes. That phone call guaranteed he's not thinking straight. What if he finds the pier? He will. That's the point. Rico smiled. We gave him exactly enough information to feel smart. Tuesday night, Pier 17, midnight. He'll come in thinking he's disrupting our supply line. And we'll be waiting. Rico crushed the cigarette under his boot. Not with product, with enough firepower to put the quiet knife in the ground permanently. Tommy shifted uncomfortably. Boss, you sure about this? Oscar Heaton's survived worse. Oscar Heaton's weak. Rico's voice carried absolute certainty. He's protecting a nobody waitress. Getting emotional over some dead sister's memory. Men like that don't survive. They bleed out slowly, making mistakes, until someone with vision puts them down. He pulled out his own phone, dialing. It's me. Move the real shipment to Wednesday, Pier 9. Tuesday's a decoy. And tell the boys. His grin widened. Bring the heavy guns. We're hunting ghosts. Back at the safe house, Carrie watched Oscar and Luis coordinate over the laptop moving pieces, calling contacts, building a war plan with terrifying efficiency. You're walking into a trap, she said quietly. Oscar looked up. I know. Then why? Because they threatened you. Threatened your mother. His eyes held hers. And I need them to believe I'm coming in angry and stupid. I need them confident. So you can do what? Oscar's smile was a blade in the darkness. Show them the difference between a trap and a grave. He returned to his planning, and Carrie realized with creeping horror that she wasn't just protected. She was the bait in a war she'd never wanted. And Oscar Heaton was about to paint Eastbridge red. The attack came on Sunday afternoon, when the Garden District pretended violence didn't exist. Carrie stood at the safe house window, coffee growing cold in her good hand, watching children play in the courtyard below. Normal life. The kind she'd never really had. 3 days of protective custody had given her too much time to think about Leela's shy smile, about Oscar's grief disguised as control, about the fact that she'd become a chess piece in a game where everyone played for keeps. Her new phone buzzed. Her mother's facility. Miss Brown? This is Nurse Patricia from Meadowbrook. Your mother's asking for you. She's having a good day, very lucid. I thought you might want to visit? Carrie's throat tightened. Her mother's lucid days were rare gifts, precious and fleeting. I'll be there in an hour. She ended the call and immediately dialed Luis. I need to see my mother. Not a good idea right now, Miss Brown. Security protocols. She's having a lucid day. Carrie's voice cracked. Do you know what that means? She'll actually remember me. Actually know who I am. I haven't had that in 4 months. Silence. Then, give me 20 minutes. I'll arrange transport. The black SUV arrived with 2 of Oscar's men, the silent type with shoulder holsters and eyes that never stopped scanning. Carrie climbed into the back seat, her broken arm aching despite the painkillers. They made it 6 blocks before everything went wrong. The garbage truck appeared from a side street, blocking the intersection with the casual precision of planned chaos. Carrie's driver cursed, throwing the SUV into reverse just as a panel van screeched to a halt behind them, boxing them in. Get down! The bodyguard in the passenger seat drew his weapon. Masked men poured from the van, 3 from the truck. Automatic weapons, professional movements. The first bullets spiderwebbed the windshield. The driver returned fire through his window, catching one attacker in the shoulder. He spun but didn't drop. They're wearing vests, the driver shouted. Luis, we need backup. Garden and 5th. A second spray of gunfire cut him off. The driver slumped forward, blood pooling across the dashboard. Carrie screamed. The passenger side bodyguard kicked open his door, using it as cover, firing methodically. 2 attackers went down, but more were coming. Miss Brown. He grabbed her good arm, yanking her from the SUV. Run, I'll hold them. A burst of gunfire ended his sentence. He collapsed, his weapon clattering across the pavement. Carrie ran. Her ribs screamed. Her broken arm bounced uselessly in its sling. But terror overrode pain, flooding her system with adrenaline that tasted like copper and inevitability. She made it to the corner before rough hands grabbed her from behind, yanking her into the alley between 2 brownstones. Got her, a voice shouted. Tell Rico we got the bitch. Carrie twisted, kicked, fought with everything she had. Her attacker backhanded her, splitting her lip. Stars exploded across her vision. A black sedan screeched into the alley. They were dragging her toward the open door when the first shot rang out precise, lethal. The man holding her jerked, blood spraying from his neck. He released her, clutching his throat, drowning on dry land. More shots, professional, controlled. Oscar's surveillance team materialized from rooftops and doorways, moving with military precision. 4 attackers went down in 10 seconds. The sedan reversed wildly, clipping a dumpster, escaping with 2 survivors. Then Oscar was there, his suit jacket abandoned, his shirt sleeves rolled up, his weapon still smoking. He grabbed Carrie, checking her for wounds with hands that shook despite their efficiency. "Are you hit? Carrie, are you hit?" "No. I the driver. They killed." "I know." Oscar pulled her against his chest, his heart hammering beneath her ear. "I know. It's over. You're safe." But Carrie heard the lie in his voice. This wasn't over. It was escalating. The safe house was compromised. Oscar moved Carrie to one of his personal properties, a penthouse apartment in the financial district, with bulletproof windows and security that rivaled military installations. She sat on his leather couch, wrapped in a blanket despite the warmth, watching him pace like a caged predator making calculations. Louise stood by the window, laptop open, coordinating a response that involved words like retaliation and maximum force. "They knew about the call from Meadowbrook," Louise said quietly. "Had to. The timing was too perfect." "Inside man?" Oscar's voice was granite. "Or they're monitoring the facility's phone lines." Louise typed rapidly. "Either way, they wanted her exposed. This was coordinated. How many did we lose?" 2 dead, 3 wounded." Luis's jaw tightened. "Martinez has a widow and 2 kids." Oscar's hands clenched into fists. The guilt in his eyes was fleeting but real. Carrie spoke, her voice hollow. "This is my fault." Both men turned. "I insisted on seeing my mother. I put them in danger. If I'd just stayed..." "This is Rico's fault." Oscar crossed to her, crouching before the couch. "Not yours, never yours. He orchestrated the call, set the trap, killed good men to get to you. Because of me." Tears tracked down her face. "People are dying because I exist. Because you decided to protect me. People are dying because Rico Vega thinks human life is negotiable." Oscar's voice softened. "You didn't start this war, Carrie. You just reminded me why it's worth fighting. I don't understand. For 2 years, I've been operating on autopilot, building territory, eliminating threats, surviving." His eyes held something raw and honest. "I forgot what it felt like to protect something other than power. You defending Lila, surviving those stairs, refusing to break you, reminded me." "Reminded you of what?" "That some things are worth bleeding for." Oscar stood, the vulnerability vanishing behind cold determination. Rico made his move. "Now I make mine." "What are you going to do?" Oscar exchanged a look with Louise. A decision made without words. Tuesday night, Pier 17. Rico thinks I'm walking into his trap. Oscar's smile was predatory. "He's wrong. He's walking into mine. You said yourself it's a setup." "It is. But he doesn't know that I know. And he definitely doesn't know what I've been planning since Dante gave me that information." Oscar pulled out his phone, making calls that would mobilize an army. "Luis, contact the crew. Full tactical gear. I want overwhelming force." "Boss, if this goes sideways." "It won't." Oscar's certainty was absolute, because Rico Vega just made his fatal mistake. He thought threatening you would make me emotional, make me sloppy. Carrie stood, blanket falling away. "Did it?" Oscar looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time since the alley, she saw past the crime boss to the man underneath. "Yes," he admitted. "But emotion doesn't mean weak. It means motivated." He headed for the door, Louis following. "Where are you going?" Carrie called. "To visit an old friend." Oscar paused in the doorway. "Someone who owes me a favor. Someone who has access to things that go boom." The door closed behind him, leaving Carrie alone in the fortress he'd built around her. She walked to the bulletproof window, looking down at the city lights stretching toward the horizon. Somewhere out there, Rico Vega was planning her death. Somewhere out there, Oscar Heaton was planning his revenge. And she, broken, terrified, unwilling bait, stood at the center of it all. Her phone buzzed. Text from Oscar. "Stay inside. Armed detail outside your door. This ends Tuesday." Carrie typed back. "What if you don't come back?" 3 dots. Then Luis will keep you safe. "But I'm coming back. I promised Leela I'd protect what matters. I don't break promises to the dead." Carrie set the phone down, exhaustion crashing over her. Outside, the city hummed with oblivious life. But beneath the surface, in the shadows where men like Oscar operated, war was coming, and Tuesday night would determine who survived to see Wednesday. Monday morning arrived with the kind of gray sky that promised rain and delivered only oppressive humidity. Oscar hadn't slept. He'd spent the night in his war room, a soundproofed office in the basement of his legitimate holding company surrounded by maps, surveillance photos, and the kind of weaponry that never appeared on any manifest. Tommy Feng was surprisingly easy to find. The kid had made a rookie mistake, returning to his mother's house in Chinatown, thinking family ties would protect him. Oscar almost pitied him. Almost. Luis drove. Oscar rode in silence, watching the city transform from financial district steel to residential brick, where generations lived stacked on top of each other and everyone knew everyone else's business. Mrs. Feng's apartment building was modest, clean, the kind of place where grandmothers hung laundry from fire escapes and argued about produce prices in Cantonese. Oscar hated bringing violence here, but Tommy had made his choice when he filmed Carrie's broken body. They entered through the back, bypassing the security camera Oscar had disabled remotely an hour ago. 3rd floor, apartment 3C. Oscar knocked. The door opened to reveal Tommy's mother, 60-something, barely 5 feet tall, wearing a floral apron and confusion. Mrs. Feng? Oscar's Cantonese was flawless, respectful. I need to speak with your son. Her eyes widened with recognition. Not of Oscar's face, but of what he represented. The kind of man mothers warned their children about. He's not here. Ma? Tommy's voice from inside. Who is it? Mrs. Feng's face crumpled. She knew. Mothers always knew. Oscar gently moved past her. I'm sorry. Tommy stood in the kitchen, frozen mid-bite of a breakfast his mother had made. The Yankees cap was gone. He looked younger without it, scared. Mr. Heaton, Tommy's voice cracked. I can explain. No need. Oscar closed the apartment door, leaving Luis outside to ensure privacy. I know exactly what happened. Dante already told me everything. Tommy's face went white. Dante talked? Extensively. Oscar leaned against the counter, arms crossed, his presence filling the cramped kitchen. Told me about Rico's plan. The territory grab. How you 3 were sent to provoke me. His eyes went cold. How you filmed a woman's assault for social media content. That was Dante's idea. I was just there, man, I didn't... You laughed. Oscar's voice never rose. Didn't need to. I watched the footage, heard you laughing while she bled. Mrs. Feng sobbed quietly in the doorway. Tommy's hands trembled. What do you want? Information. Oscar pulled out his phone, displaying surveillance photos. Jamie Vasquez, the runner. Where is he? I don't know, man. He disappeared after... Oscar's hand shot out, grabbing Tommy's wrist, applying pressure to the nerve cluster that made grown men scream. Tommy gasped, knees buckling. Wrong answer. Okay. Tommy's voice pitched high. He's with his cousin. Ricky Vasquez, runs a chop shop on Industrial Avenue. Jamie's hiding there. Oscar released him. Tommy collapsed against the kitchen counter, cradling his wrist. What else is Rico planning? Tuesday night. Pier 17. But it's a setup. He's got 20 guys with automatic weapons waiting for you. He thinks you're coming for the drug shipment, but there's no shipment, just an ambush. I know. Oscar's smile was terrifying in its calm. What I want to know is where the real shipment is. Tommy's eyes went wide. How did you... Because I've been playing this game since before you were born. Oscar leaned closer. Where is the real shipment? Wednesday, Pier 9. 30 kilos from Miami. Rico's got protection from the Port Authority, Customs, everyone. It's untouchable. Nothing's untouchable. Oscar straightened, pulling out cash $5,000 and setting it on the counter. For your mother. Medical bills, whatever she needs. Tommy stared at the money, confused. You're not going to kill me? No. Oscar headed for the door. You're going to disappear. Tonight. Take your mother somewhere. Rico can't find you. Canada, Mexico, I don't care. But if I see your face in Eastbridge again... His eyes held absolute promise. This conversation ends differently. He left Tommy shaking in his mother's kitchen. In the hallway, Luis raised an eyebrow. You're getting soft. No, I'm being strategic. Oscar descended the stairs. Tommy's mother doesn't deserve to watch her son die, and a scared witness is more valuable than a corpse. What about Jamie? Him, we visit next. The chop shop on Industrial Avenue operated behind the facade of legitimate auto repair. Oscar had raided it twice in the past, both times leaving messages written in blood and broken bones. Ricky Vasquez knew better than to operate here, but family made people stupid. They arrived at noon, the sun finally burning through the humidity, making the industrial district shimmer with heat mirages. Luis brought 4 men, veterans who'd served with Oscar in less official capacities, the kind who asked no questions and left no witnesses. The shop's bay doors were open, revealing 2 stripped cars and 3 mechanics who scattered the moment they saw Oscar. Ricky emerged from the office, wiping grease on his coveralls, trying for bravado that died the moment he met Oscar's eyes. Heaton. This is neutral territory, man. We got agreements. You broke the agreement when you harbored someone who tried to kill under my protection. Oscar gestured, and his men fanned out, securing the perimeter. Where's Jamie? I don't know what you're... Luis fired once, the bullet ricocheting off a metal beam 6 inches from Ricky's head. The sharp crack echoed like thunder. Let's try again. Oscar's patience was a finite resource, and Ricky had already exhausted half of it. Where is your cousin? Ricky's bravado crumbled. He pointed toward the back office. In there. Been hiding since Thursday. Please, man, he's just a kid. He's old enough to push women downstairs. Oscar walked past Ricky into the dim office. Jamie sat on a cot, gaming controller in hand, completely oblivious until Oscar's shadow fell across him. The controller clattered to the floor. Mr. Heaton, Jamie's voice was pure terror. I'm sorry, I swear. I didn't want to. Dante made me. You ran. Oscar closed the door behind him, sealing them in together. You could have stayed, could have tried to help her. Instead, you ran and left her bleeding. I was scared. So was she. Oscar crouched to eye level. 19 years old, clean record, your whole life ahead of you, and you threw it away filming assault for entertainment. Jamie's tears came freely. Please don't kill me. Please, I'll do anything. I'm not going to kill you. Oscar's voice carried something worse than death. I'm going to educate you. He spent the next 10 minutes explaining in vivid, terrible detail what would happen if Jamie ever touched another woman, ever laughed at someone else's pain, ever mistook cruelty for courage. By the end, Jamie was sobbing, understanding with crystal clarity that Oscar's mercy was conditional and temporary. You get one chance, Oscar said, standing. One. You waste it, and what happened to Dante will look like compassion compared to what I do to you. Understand? Jamie nodded frantically. Oscar left him there, broken but breathing. Outside, Ricky waited with the desperate hope of someone whose world hadn't ended yet. We square? Ricky asked. For now. Oscar paused. But if Jamie's face shows up anywhere near my territory, if I hear he's back in the game, if he so much as jaywalks, I come back. And next time, I bring gasoline. They left the chop shop in their wake, 3 targets eliminated without a single death. In the car, Luis looked at him with something approaching concern. Boss, you sure about letting them live? Any of them could warn Rico. They won't. Oscar stared out the window at the city he controlled through fear and reputation. Tommy's too scared. Jamie's too broken. And Dante already gave us everything. Besides, his smile was grim. I want Rico confident. Want him thinking I'm emotional, sloppy, distracted by protecting Carrie. Are you? Oscar considered the question. Thought about Carrie's defiance in the hospital. Her tears when she learned about Lila. The way she'd pushed back against his protection even while needing it desperately. Yes, he admitted. But distracted doesn't mean weak. It means I have something to fight for beyond territory. His phone buzzed. Text from the penthouse security. Miss Brown requesting to speak with you. Oscar dialed. Carrie answered on the first ring. I heard about the chop shop. Her voice was tight. People are saying you're executing Rico's crew one by one. Not executing. Educating. What's the difference? They're still breathing. Oscar signaled Luis to head back to the penthouse. Why are you calling Carrie? Silence. Then quietly. Because tomorrow's Tuesday. Because you're walking into a war. And because... Her voice cracked. I need to know you're coming back. Oscar's chest tightened. I'm coming back. Promise me. Carrie. Promise me, Oscar. Like you promised Lila. Like you promised yourself when she died. Promise me you're not going to get yourself killed trying to avenge a waitress you barely know. Oscar closed his eyes. I promise. Liar. But there was something like affection in her accusation. I promised to try very hard not to die. Better. He heard her breathe out slowly. What do I do if... You trust Luis. You stay safe. You live. His voice softened. You give me a reason to come back. The call ended. Luis glanced at him. You really think you can walk into 20 armed men and walk out? No. Oscar checked his weapon, the gesture automatic. But I'm not walking in alone. Enrico Vega's about to learn the difference between a trap and a tomb. The city rolled past, oblivious. But beneath the surface, pieces were moving. Tuesday was coming, and Oscar Heaton was done playing defense. Tuesday night arrived with thick fog rolling off the harbor, turning Pier 17 into something from a nightmare, all shadows and sodium lights that barely penetrated the murk. Oscar stood on the rooftop of a warehouse 3 blocks away, watching through binoculars as Rico's men moved into position. 20 soldiers, just like Tommy said. Automatic weapons, professional spacing. They'd turned the pier into a kill box, with sightlines covering every approach. "They're confident," Luis murmured beside him, his own binoculars tracking movements. "Too confident." "Good." Oscar lowered his binoculars. Confidence makes them predictable. Behind them, 15 men waited Oscar's core crew, veterans who'd survived gang wars, cartel conflicts, and operations that officially never happened. They wore tactical gear, carried weapons that would make military contractors jealous, and moved with the economy of motion that separated professionals from pretenders. Oscar's phone buzzed. Text from the harbor master. Coast Guard patrol rerouted. Window is 45 minutes. Time to work. Oscar addressed his crew. Rules are simple. Rico Vega comes to me alive. Everyone else is optional. Civilians get clear before we engage. And nobody, his eyes swept across them, nobody dies tonight except the people who deserve it. Clear? Affirmatives all around. They descended into the fog. Rico Vega stood in the center of Pier 17, smoking a cigarette, watching his soldiers take position. Everything was perfect. Oscar would approach from the street, the only logical entry point. His men would cut him down in a crossfire. The quiet knife would bleed out on concrete he thought he owned. "Boss." One of his lieutenants jogged over. "Perimeter's secure. Motion sensors active. He shows up. We'll know." "Good." Rico checked his watch. 11:47 p.m. Heaton's always punctual. He'll be here. "What if he doesn't come?" Rico's smile was cruel. "Then tomorrow we grab the waitress again. This time, we don't fail. We send Oscar her fingers until he shows up to collect the rest." Thunder rumbled in the distance. Or maybe not thunder. The explosion came from the north, a fuel truck parked 3 blocks away, erupting in a fireball that lit the fog like daylight. Rico's men turned, instinctively moving toward the threat. The second explosion hit from the south. Another vehicle. Another distraction. "It's a diversion!" Rico screamed. "Hold positions. He's trying to..." Smoke grenades landed in perfect formation, deployed from the rooftops Rico hadn't thought to secure. Thick chemical smoke merged with the fog, reducing visibility to 0. Then the shooting started. Oscar's crew moved through the smoke like ghosts, using thermal optics and practiced coordination. They hit fast and brutal, disabling shots to shoulders and knees, neutralizing threats without killing. Rico's men fired blind, hitting nothing but fog and panic. In 90 seconds, half of Rico's soldiers were down, screaming or unconscious. Oscar materialized from the smoke directly in front of Rico, his weapon aimed center mass. Surprise. Rico fired. Oscar had already moved. His return shot took Rico in the thigh, agonizing but non-lethal. Rico collapsed, cursing. "You stupid, this doesn't end here. I got connections. Protection." "Had." Oscar kicked Rico's weapon away. Past tense. Luis emerged from the smoke, dragging 2 of Rico's lieutenants. "Perimeter secure. Police response delayed another 15 minutes. We're clear." Oscar nodded. "Get Rico to the warehouse. Time for a conversation." The abandoned textile warehouse that Rico's crew used as their base now served as their prison. Oscar had cleared it an hour before the pier operation quietly, efficiently, leaving it empty for exactly this purpose. Rico sat zip-tied to a chair, bleeding from his leg, surrounded by the 8 soldiers Oscar's crew had captured alive. The rest had scattered into the city, their loyalty evaporating the moment the ambush collapsed. Oscar stood before them, his tactical gear abandoned, his dress shirt rolled to the elbows. Behind him, the warehouse's high windows let in fog and distant sirens. "Let's talk about Carrie Brown." Oscar's voice carried through the cavernous space. "A 26-year-old waitress. No gang affiliation. No criminal record. No reason for any of you to know her name." Rico spat blood. "She was a message. About your territory. About your weakness." "Weakness." Oscar smiled. "You keep using that word. I don't think you understand what it means." He pulled out his phone, playing the audio from Carrie's threatening call, the distorted voice describing her mother's room. "You threatened a woman with Alzheimer's, a civilian in a care facility who doesn't remember her own daughter half the time." Oscar's voice went glacial. "You thought that was strength? It was strategy." Oscar moved. His fist connected with Rico's jaw, snapping his head sideways. Blood and a tooth hit the floor. "Strategy is taking territory through superior force. Strategy is building networks that can't be dismantled." Oscar grabbed Rico's hair, forcing eye contact. "What you did was cowardice. You couldn't touch me, so you targeted the weakest possible person in my orbit." She meant nothing. She meant everything. Oscar released him, stepping back. "Because she reminded me what I'm supposed to be protecting. Not just territory, not just profit. People who can't protect themselves." Rico laughed, the sound wet and mocking. You gone soft, Heaton. Your sister died and you lost your edge. You're finished. Oscar's expression never changed. You're right about one thing. I did lose something when Lila died. I lost the part of me that saw value in mercy, in giving people chances they don't deserve. He pulled his weapon, chambering around with cold finality. Wait, Rico's bravado finally cracked. Wait, we can make a deal. I got money, connections. I can leave Eastbridge. You'll never see me. I know. Oscar's aim never wavered. But that's not good enough. You put Carrie in a hospital, threatened her mother, killed 2 of my men, and you did it thinking there wouldn't be consequences. Please, I'm not going to kill you, Rico. Oscar lowered his weapon. That would be mercy. He nodded to Luis, who stepped forward with a laptop. Every transaction you've made in the past 5 years, Luis said, turning the screen toward Rico. Every bribe, every dealer, every protection payment. We've been documenting it for months. And as of, he checked his watch 10 minutes ago, it's been delivered to the FBI, DEA, and State Attorney General. Rico's face went white. You can't, that's a death sentence. The cartels will? Exactly. Oscar's smile was a razor. You'll spend the rest of your life in federal prison, knowing that every gang you've ever crossed now knows you're cooperating with authorities. Because we made sure the documentation looks like you've been an informant for years. No. Rico struggled against his restraints. No. I'll be dead in 6 months. Probably less. Oscar turned to leave. Your crew is scattered. Your operation is finished. Your suppliers will move on. And you get to live just long enough to understand the consequences of touching what's mine. Heaton. Rico's scream echoed through the warehouse. Heaton, you can't do this. Kill me. Just fucking kill me. Oscar paused at the door. I promised Carrie I'd come back. I promised I wouldn't become the monster everyone thinks I am. This is me keeping both promises. He left Rico screaming. Outside, police sirens wailed closer. Oscar had timed it perfectly enough for authorities to find Rico and his men, not enough to catch Oscar's crew. Luis fell into step beside him. The shipment tomorrow night. Already intercepted. Coast Guard's been watching Pier 9 for 3 days. Rico's suppliers are about to meet federal agents instead of buyers. Oscar climbed into the waiting SUV. It's over. Is it? Luis pulled into traffic. Rico's got family. His uncle runs operations in 3 states. His uncle will cut ties the moment he sees the federal indictment. Oscar's certainty was born from decades of understanding how criminal hierarchies worked. Nobody protects dead weight. Rico's toxic now. They drove through the fog-wrapped city, leaving chaos in their wake. Oscar's phone buzzed. Text from Penthouse Security. Miss Brown is awake. Requesting update. He dialed. She answered before the first ring finished. Oscar. Her voice carried relief and fear in equal measure. Are you? I'm fine. It's over. Rico. Federal custody by morning. His operations dismantled. You're safe. Silence. Then, quietly. People died tonight, didn't they? Oscar closed his eyes. No. Wounded. Arrested. But no one died. I promised you I wouldn't become. I know. Her voice softened. I know what you promised. Thank you for keeping it. I'm coming to you now. 20 minutes. Oscar. She hesitated. I'm not going back to my old life, am I? After everything that's happened. Everyone who saw. No. Honesty was the only thing he could give her. But that doesn't mean your life is over. It means it's different. Better. If you'll let me help make it that way. And if I say no, then I respect it. Set you up somewhere safe, far from Eastbridge. New identity, clean start. No obligations. He paused. But I hope you don't. Why? Because you remind me what I'm supposed to be protecting. His voice carried vulnerability he rarely showed. And I'm tired of doing this alone. The line went quiet. Then, 20 minutes. Don't be late. She ended the call. Luis glanced at him. Boss, you know she's going to complicate everything, right? Having someone you actually care about, it's a vulnerability. I know. Oscar stared out at the city he'd bled for, killed for, built an empire around. But maybe vulnerability isn't weakness. Maybe it's the only thing that makes this worth doing. They drove toward the financial district, toward bulletproof windows and a woman who'd survived because she'd shown kindness to a stranger 2 years ago. Behind them, Rico Vega screamed in an empty warehouse, understanding too late that some debts can't be paid, only suffered through. The penthouse was silent, a stark contrast to the violence Oscar had just unleashed on the city. The only light came from the city itself, a tapestry of gold and white glittering beyond the bulletproof glass. Carrie stood at the window, her silhouette framed against the night, the sling on her arm a pale ghost in the dimness. She didn't turn when the door opened and closed, but she knew it was him. The air changed when Oscar Heaton entered a room. It became charged, heavier. "It's done." His voice came from behind her, rough with exhaustion and something else she couldn't name. She finally turned. He'd shed his suit jacket. His white dress shirt was smudged with dirt and something darker near the cuffs. There was a fresh cut on his jaw, and his knuckles were raw. He looked less like a businessman and more like what he was, a soldier returning from a brutal campaign. "Are you hurt?" she asked, her voice quiet. "No." "And Rico?" "In federal custody. His operation is ash." He took a step closer, his dark eyes searching her face. "The threat to you, to your mother, it's over." The words should have been a relief. They were a liberation. So why did she feel like she was standing on the edge of a cliff? She wrapped her good arm around herself. "So what happens now? You send me back to my studio with the broken lock? A check for my troubles? Is that what you want?" "I want to know what you want, Oscar." The frustration she'd been holding back finally broke through. "You tear my life apart, put it back together in your image, and then... what? Am I just a project you've completed? A debt paid?" He closed the distance between them in 2 strides, his presence overwhelming. "You were never a debt. Then what?" she demanded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Why? Why go to war for a waitress you barely know?" The dam broke. The cool, collected crime lord vanished, and the raw, grieving man stood in his place. "Because, when Lila died," he said, his voice cracking with a pain so deep it seemed to shake the room, "a part of me died with her, the part that believed in anything good. I became the monster everyone saw when they looked at me. I built an empire on blood and fear because it was all I had left." He reached out, his thumb gently tracing the fading yellow-green bruise on her cheek, a touch so at odds with the violence she knew he was capable of. "And then I saw you," he whispered. "I saw you get back up, day after day. I saw you carry a weight that would break most people, and you never complained. I saw you show kindness to my sister when no one else would. You reminded me that goodness isn't weakness. It's the hardest strength there is." A tear escaped and traced a path down Carrie's cheek. "I'm not good, Oscar. I'm just surviving. That's all any of us are doing." His hand dropped to his side. "You asked me what I want. I want you to have the choice I couldn't give Lila. The choice for a better life. A safe life. I can set you up anywhere in the world. New name, new start. You'll never have to look over your shoulder again. You can walk away from me, from all of this, and never look back." The offer hung in the air, pristine and perfect. Freedom, safety, everything she'd ever craved. "And if I don't?" she asked, her heart hammering against her ribs. "If I stay?" Something fierce and hopeful ignited in his eyes. "Then you stay with me. It won't be a normal life. It will be messy and dangerous, and there will be days you'll hate me for pulling you into this world. But you will never want for anything. You will be protected, respected, and..." He paused, the words clearly foreign to him. "Loved." The word echoed in the silent room. Carrie looked at him, at the man who had executed a war for her, who carried his grief like a weapon, and his guilt like a shield. She saw the monster and the guardian, the killer and the brother. He was offering her a gilded cage, but he was also offering her his broken, bloody heart. She took a step forward, closing the final inch between them. She placed her good hand on his chest, feeling the solid, steady beat of his heart beneath her palm. "Rico's uncle is still out there," she said softly. "You said it yourself. This isn't over. It's a declaration of war." Oscar's jaw tightened. "It is. And if you walk away, that war stays with me. You'll be clean of it." She looked up, meeting his gaze, her own clear and certain for the first time since she'd fallen down those stairs. "I'm not walking away." Relief, stark and profound, washed over his features. He brought his forehead to rest against hers, his eyes closing. "Carrie, they wanted to see if you were slipping," she whispered, repeating Rico's words from the warehouse. "They thought I was a weakness." Oscar pulled back, his hands coming up to cradle her face with a terrifying gentleness. "What are you?" Carrie's answer was a promise, a vow, the first volley in the war to come. "I'm the reason you're going to win. Thanks for sticking with this story till the end. If you enjoyed it, you're going to love the next one. It's packed with unexpected turns and heartfelt moments. Click the image on your screen to keep the journey going, and make sure to hit subscribe for more amazing stories. Drop a comment and rate this story from 1 to 10. I can't wait to see what you think.